Here we are in week 16 of the Avant Garde program. Looking back, the past few weeks have been quite technical, focusing heavily on earning money and gaining financial freedom. We've covered a lot in the realm of business, personal development, and relationships. But now, it's time to shift our focus again to mental training, which really forms the foundation for everything. The key takeaway here is that you need to watch this video every single day, even if you feel like you already understand it. Watching it just 7 times isn't enough. You need repetition, ideally 500 times, to truly embed it in your mind. Think about it like learning a basketball move. When you learn a feint, you don't just do it once and assume you've mastered it. You practice it 50 times to the right, 50 times to the left, and you repeat this process for years. That way, when the situation arises in a real game, you can perform it without even thinking. It becomes automatic. The same applies to mental training. If you don't practice a response over and over, it won't come naturally in real-life situations. So, it's not enough to rehearse mentally a few times and expect the right reaction when someone provokes you. You need to condition your mind through constant repetition. Now, let's reflect on something really important, the fear of regret. Picture yourself on your deathbed. How will you look back on your life? There are 2 examples that really hit home for me. One is from a book, and the other is from a client. You might already know the client's story, but it's worth repeating because repetition helps solidify the message. People often go through life without fully considering their actions. They might spend 40 years doing the same thing without realizing they have the power to change. Smoking is a great example. Everyone knows it's harmful, it kills, it costs money, and it makes you stink. Yet, some people smoke for decades without questioning why. It's only when they receive a diagnosis like lung cancer that they start to regret it. They think, why didn't I stop sooner? The same regret applies to many areas of life, like staying in a job or relationship for far too long. Here's the story from the book. The author was on a flight to Tokyo when the plane started shaking violently. The plane tilted, smoke appeared, and he thought, this is it. I'm going to die in 5 minutes. In his panic, he selfishly grabbed the oxygen mask meant for his neighbor. He tried calling his wife, but there was no signal, so he sent a desperate WhatsApp message. Just when he thought it was the end, the pilot calmly announced that an engine had failed, but it was a routine situation, and they would safely return to the airport. In that moment when he thought it was all over, none of his usual concerns, work stress, arguments, mattered. The only thing he cared about was love and the people he held close. That's what took over his mind. Then, there's my client's story. He was an avid skier, and one day, after being dropped off by a helicopter too far up a mountain, he realized he was stuck. Darkness was setting in, and he knew he wouldn't survive the night in the freezing conditions. He sat there hoping for a rescue, fully aware that if help didn't come, he wouldn't make it. That moment changed his entire perspective on life. From then on, nothing, no business problem or daily stress, could shake him. He became a completely different person. The real lesson here is that we know rationally that life is short, but we don't often feel it deeply within ourselves. We work for decades without ever really considering the fact that it could all end tomorrow. That's why it's so crucial to live with awareness and to focus on what truly matters. So, today's exercise is simple but profound. Imagine yourself in those life or death moments or on your deathbed. What will you regret? Most people regret the things they didn't do, not the things they did. Now, write down what you might regret if you continue living the way you have for the next 60 years. Do this every day. Then, write down your goals, every day, even if you wrote them yesterday. You can never write them enough. Repeat this process for the next 7 days, over and over again. It may seem like a basic exercise, but it's essential. Writing down what you will regret if you don't change, and detailing your goals repeatedly, is key to making lasting change in your life. That's your task for this week. I'll see you next week. Your Elise.